Hi guys, and welcome back to the Edwards Custom Models YouTube channel. I've got a Trumpeter 1/32 TBM-3 Avenger kit here in front of me, and it's interesting because I haven't really seen many video reviews for this kit. I've seen a few builds online and I've seen a few YouTube videos where they've showed the completed build, and I think maybe one or two progress videos as well. So myself obviously going to build this kit, and I generally look at those things. I thought I'd make a review about it. It's a huge box here. It's a huge aeroplane. I've seen a few of these planes in museums, one here in Australia and one in New Zealand, and they are massive. The fuselage on these things is huge. They're just giants, to be honest. I'll pull this box aside because we're going to have no room here otherwise. Okay, so in the box, you've got a number of things here. That's just my build sheet. I do this because these are actually built for other people, most of these planes. This has my different options and weathering and so forth, armaments, just so I don't forget what I'm building. I'm going to chuck that down there, put that aside and that aside. So first we'll have a look at the instructions. Pretty basic black and white booklet here, 28 pages. It's not massive. I'm assuming this is your warnings and stuff, and I'm assuming this is Chinese, being that Trumpeter is a Chinese company. I've never built a Trumpeter kit before. It's not for any particular reason, I just haven't. The subjects that I've built happen to be other brands, so I'm looking forward to this. I've heard a lot of good things about Trumpeter. I've heard some negative as well, but you get that with everything. And yeah, it seems to be quite a good brand. So we'll have a quick look through this instruction booklet. Sprue callouts. Interesting, as this one starts off with the engine, not the cockpit. Looks like a fairly detailed engine. A lot of parts here to make up the engine, the radial engine and so forth. Should look good. Goes on the firewall here. Then you come into the cockpit. There's a lot of PE parts in the cockpit as well. Levers and switches and so forth. Seats, PE harnesses, switch panels. It looks like a shelf here behind the pilot. More switch panels. Engine gets joined to the cockpit. Side panels. This looks like a tray, like a parcel tray with different electrical components, maybe radios and so forth. This is the main floor for the bomb bay and so forth. Has a fuel tank that can go in the bomb bay or the torpedo. I will build it with the torpedo in the bomb bay. Mounting up, different armament options. This unit joins the fuselage, will come together over this bottom floor panel for the bomb bay, the cockpit and the engine. You've got gunner's seat with PE seat harness as well. The rear ball turret assembly with a single 50 cal in there. Rear tail gear assembly and another gun that goes underneath the belly. Bomb bay doors, like we spoke about, this fuselage sandwiches up this giant construction in the middle here, along with the tail wheel. More windows and detail parts, bomb bay doors. Control surfaces and the engine cowl, some wing panels, machine guns for the wings. These actually have really long barrels, which is interesting. I haven't seen that before. It's like an extension on top of the standard 50 cal gun barrel. Wings joining to the fuselage. And this is interesting because you have these giant plastic spigots that the wings bolt onto, so hopefully that's a nice strong solid join. Like I said, this will be built with the wings extended, but I'm sure with the wings folded it still gives you a really nice joint. Tyres, main gear assembly here. It looks as though they've got these big square pieces which should give a nice positive location on the wing. Horizontal stabilizers. Here's the main gear going on. I can't really see from this photo, but it looks like it has a nice recess that they locate. Should be nice and strong. And options, so you've got bombs, underwing fuel tanks, rockets. I will probably do it with the fuel tanks and a torpedo. I just have to do a bit of research on the actual loadouts for these things. Windshield going on. Wingtip navigation lights, horizontal stabilizers going on, and then it looks like you've got a few different options here for the canopies. Yeah, different part numbers. So you've got a closed, a sliding open, the top's open on this one, which is kind of cool because you've got options there. And that looks to be it for the instruction booklet. There's an overall picture here of the folded wings. Like I said, I won't be doing the folded wings, but it's kind of cool. It's a double-edged sword, because if you fold the wings, you cover up all the fuselage and a lot of the detail, which on these naval aircraft, they get very weathered and the fading and the salt, and you cover a lot of that weathering up. On the bright side, it looks really cool, takes up less space in the cabinet, and you can also see the underside of the wings too, which is unusual because generally speaking, you have to pick a model up and turn it over to see underneath. So they both have their positives and negatives. This one will be built with the wings extended, but either way, I think you're going to have a really nice looking model. I have got a Edouard Master Set for this. I have stated previously that I don't generally use these, but I've got them here and there's an awful lot of masking to do on this kit, so I might give them a try. Now Trumpeter's done something really nice here. They've done a colour painting and marking guide, which is great, but the problem is it's one of the biggest 32nd aircraft I've ever built, and it's got the smallest painting guide. So I mean, that's, what is that? That's probably not even 10 centimeters. It's minuscule. Still nice to have. I will stick it up on the wall, but yeah, it'd just be nice if maybe they printed one here and then one on the other side. So you've got two markings in this kit. You've got this 3-tone marking option here, which is a VT51 on the board USS CVL-30 San Jacinto, summer 1944. And the second option, which is this overall gloss sea blue, which is from USS Shamrock Bay, early 1945. Both very interesting. I will go with the multicolored one just because it's a little bit more visual interest. But I have seen some of these gloss ones built up nicely, and the benefit of the gloss is you leave the glossy finish, and then when you weather it with the fading and the oil stains and stuff, you get nice contrast between the different textures, which is always pretty cool. It's just, I think the overall one colour is a little bit monotone. Decals. I will be using these cat decals too. I haven't got any masks or anything. It's quite funny. I haven't pulled these out before, but it's quite greasy. And if you have a look, yeah, I don't know if you can see this properly, but you can see through here, it's like a splotchy finish on the decals. I don't know if it's from this sheet, which feels like real greasy wax paper, or I'm not too sure. Hopefully when these get wet, that will come off. As far as the printing goes, it looks nice. It's in register. You can't see any defects. Sometimes you can see the pixelated textures, and you can't really see it on these. They're not the best. They should work as long as this texture comes off. If they don't work, I'm going to have to find an alternate, so fingers crossed with those ones. Like I said, I've never built a Trumpeter before, so I have no experience with the decals whatsoever. I'm not sure who prints them. It doesn't say on there, so we'll see. Now this box, when I open it, it reminds me of a Tamiya. You've got the main box, then you've got this smaller box that comes in there, and then you've got all your marking sheets and stuff that we just went through. I'm not sure if these were built first or the Tamiyas, but they're very reminiscent of one another. Nice little box there. So in here, you've got your rubber tyres, which look quite good. There is a seam line down the middle, but I generally hit them with a sanding stick. It gives a bit of texture. Looks like they've been used. I have no problem with rubber tyres. So, nice. Looks like some mounting pieces or something. I'm not too sure what they are. Some rope. I know that rope's for tying the wings back when you do the wing fold. It's got a clear instrument panel, which will obviously be painted. And then you've got a film. I know it's a printed panel that will go behind, which will look really nice. I do know this kit has these little actuator rods and PE locking pieces, so you have a movable rudder, ailerons and so forth. I don't know if I'll use them yet. Very reminiscent of the Tamiya once again. PE sheet that comes with it. This is the Bombay doors, harnesses. Feels reasonably thick. It's a lot thicker than some other ones I've seen, but it is brass, which is nice. 2004. So this came out long before the new Tamiya 32nd models, which I use as a reference for these large scale models. A couple of dress, looks like a wing fence or something. I'm not too sure. Not bad. Some intake grills. Same thing again. Engine cowl looks like it's been slide molded. nice. It's not super thin, but it's going to be all covered up, so it doesn't matter. Ball turret glass. Looks reasonably clean. I can't see any defects. It's even for a compound curve, it's very clear, which is nice. And yeah, so that's all very nice in there. I'll chuck all that back in. Okay, so into the sprues. I have taken some of these out of the bags already. This is my first impressions here, and this is a big plane. The overall detail is nice. The moulding's not the crispest, but it's definitely not the worst. I think the parts themselves are pretty good. The runners actually have quite a bit of flash, and they look kind of unfinished, but you're not going to use them on the model, so it's kind of irrelevant. The rivets, they're very nice and even, but they are quite heavy, as you can probably see through here. And I can notice here there is it looks like stressed skin, but I have a fleeting suspicion that when we turn it over, it's going to be these ribs on the inside, which I'm not worried about either, because once that's painted it will look quite nice. It's consistent and it's not uneven, so I think that will probably play into our favour. One thing that I can see that does worry me is on both of these fillets for the tail, it looks like the mould was unfinished. It's really rough and scratchy, so I'm going to have to clean that up, and I think that's from the mould itself, to be honest. So overall, not too bad. It's going to be a massive plane, which, like I said, I've seen them in real life and they are huge, very rotund and large. We'll chuck that aside. Got the wings here, and this actually looks slightly better than the fuselage sprue. Once again, the detail is quite nice. You can see all through here. The riveting is nice. It is very heavy, but once it's painted, and I will prime this with Mr. Surface of 1500 black, so it will kind of fill it in a little bit, which will probably help. Looks like the elevators, or maybe the rudder, not too sure. Some bulkhead details. So yeah, as a first impression for Trumpeter, it's obviously not up to the standard of some of your high-end Tamiya's and so forth, but it's definitely not bad. This is a 2004 vintage kit. I saw, yeah, 2004. So yeah, I think it will build up quite nicely anyway. A couple of detail sprues here. Looks like the floor for the Bombay and underneath the cockpit. And this sprue overall looks a lot cleaner than the machine gun. The 50 cals are quite nice. Not the most, there is a little sink mark here, but it looks like most of the ejector pins are on these extra pieces, which is great, but it means you've got to cut them off and clean up, especially on a round barrel. You have to be very careful. So I think this sprue looks a lot nicer than some of the other ones we've seen. What else? More wing surfaces. This looks like the uppers, if I'm not mistaken. Plus the inner piece of the wings. Same thing. Nothing to complain about. I don't see any real issues on there. That grainy surface on the fabric control surfaces here isn't the best, but it will be painted and it will be weathered. Riveting is very heavy. Overall, I think we'll be okay. A little bit of detail here on the gear bays. What's this one? This one looks like Bombay doors. Not a whole lot on this sprue. Looks like ailerons, Bombay doors. Pretty standard. There's a little bit of flash here, but no big problem. This one here looks like it has torpedoes and the extra long-range fuel tank that can go up in the Bombay, plus your main struts with these big square locators. So as long as there's a recess for those to sit in, I think we'll be right, to be honest, and should be nice and strong because it's going to be quite a big, heavy model. This sprue is okay as well. Same thing, the ejector pins are all on these extra pieces that they've added, which is nice. And yeah, I'm quite impressed, to be honest. Like, I've built a few kinetic kits lately, and I think they're great kits. Their instructions leave a lot to be desired, but I think this Trumpeter is definitely a step up over them. I'd love to build a new Trumpeter kit because I've heard a lot of good things about them, to be honest. Now this is cool, one piece propeller. It's not bad. It's got a lot of texture on the blades and scratchy finish again. So I might have to run over that with a sanding stick. Another cowl here with the massive rivet heads. The backing for the instrument panel. I don't know if you can see this texture. It's just 99%. It just doesn't seem quite finished. This is just ordnance, rockets, bombs, underwing tanks. I probably won't use any of this besides these aerials, so I'm not even going to take it out. And maybe the underwing tanks. Same thing again. I'll open this one because you've got... This is just dual sprues, so I'm not going to pull them both out. You've got your wheel hubs, which look okay, to be honest. They're not bad at all. More bombs, the rear of the rockets, which is kind of cool. They've got the where the rocket exits, the little holes drilled out, which is a nice touch. Rocket exhaust. And the final sprue, for the grey styrene anyway, is engine parts. So you've got your cylinders here with the cooling fins. Not the best, but definitely not the worst. I think once they're painted up and washed, it will look good. And bear in mind, I'm going to have the cowlings closed. You're only going to see the engine from the front. You've got your push rods here, ignition ring. It looks like some kind of fuel tank or probably an oil tank, to be honest. The frame structure for the engine supports. A couple little detail parts. I think that's quite nice, to be honest. And you've also got the exhausts, manifolds. This one's broken off somehow, but hasn't really caused any damage. There is quite a big seam line around those that will need to be cleaned up. And these are already hollowed out the end of the stack as well, which is kind of cool. So we'll chuck that down there. And finally, the clears. I've heard a lot of good things about Trumpeter clear parts, and now I get to see for myself. So, nice. So they look quite nice. They're not perfect. These main ones here, I think, are very good. These flat ones have got a little sink mark in the middle, which really isn't noticeable, but it's definitely there. Just this one doesn't have it, but this middle one, very, very faint. I think these will be more than adequate, to be honest. Like, you put your finger behind there and it's crystal clear. That's that one. I'll leave that out for a sec. And this one here has the windscreen and another sliding piece. No problems whatsoever there. No defects. Minimal flash. I think that's for underneath the belly gun position. These wingtip navigation light covers have a little bit of flash on them, but nothing a quick swipe with a standing stick can't clean up. So yeah. So what are my thoughts overall? I'm impressed, to be honest. Like I said, this is a 2004 kit, so this is a 14-year-old model, and I think it's going to build up really nicely. I have read a few reviews online, and they've said that it goes together quite well, no real issues. It's going to be a big model, which is cool. Being 1/32 scale, you want that large presence. So yeah, overall I think it's going to build up quite nicely, and I will post a post-build review here as well. And please follow Edward's Custom Models on Facebook and Instagram, and we'll talk soon. Thank you very much. Bye.